This is Breaking Down Security, and I am Brian Brake. Welcome back, listener. This is Brian, Ms. Berlin, and Mr. Betcher for Breaking Down Security.
Yo.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. How y'all been this week?
Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, we are leading up to the U.S. American holiday of the 4th of July, where we showed our
patriotism
Independence Day
by blowing shit up.
That's right, with the aliens and stuff. We
Yes.
will not go silently into the night. Oh wait, wrong. Sorry. Yeah, we whooped the heck out of our U.S. British and friends over there.
Do you think they'll take us back?
Oh, wow. Okay. Rule number 0 of podcast: we don't get political. No political. Same thing for the Slack. I tell people, keep the politics off of it, no matter how much we are in agreement with that said statement. Yeah. So we're leading up to next week, where we have the 4th of July week, which everybody pretty much takes off, I think, because it's the first holiday.
I am just super happy because my busy month of June is all my busy stuff is done with, and I can breathe and sit down and relax and take care of all the things I've been ignoring, like laundry and all that kind of stuff.
Been ignoring laundry.
I've been ignoring everything in my house, and it's a disaster.
Don't you have three urchins that you can put to work? Isn't that what you have kids for?
Well, the oldest is working 37 hours a week.
Oh.
So he sleeps when he gets home.
Right.
Just bite the bullet and work 40.
He can't. He's 15.
Oh, that's right.
So you can't.
Yeah.
You can't work over 40 hours.
Child labor laws.
I mean, yeah. I know. I wanted to put him to work for 80, but
is he paying you rent now?
He's actually going to pay me for some of his food. He offered to pay me for groceries. So
that's awesome.
Which is great because he eats like a 15-year-old boy would.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's working 37 hours a week.
Yeah. All right. So, Mr. Betcher, how about you? It's probably about 85 degrees there in Austin, right? Like, it's hot as all get out. About 30
85.
C. Is that like 30 C?
105.
Is that 45?
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we people lost their minds here the last 2 days. It's been in the mid 30s C and about 95 degrees here, and people lost their minds. And of course, then they want to go and jump in the glacier-fed, mountain-fed, snowy, lakes and rivers, which are like 45 degrees or about 10 C here, and they tend to get hypothermia and drown. So they tell people to not. God. Well, because they get hypothermia, they're like jumping in, then their extremities all freeze up, and then they drown.
Right.
So they tend to.
We don't have that problem here.
Well, yeah, obviously. So they try to tell people to not be careful when you're swimming. So yeah.
Huh.
So yeah. Got to be safe and maintain personal security. So
it's Darwin at work, right?
Yeah, it's similar to Texas. Turn around, don't drown. But you still have people. You see videos of them driving through large flooded roads, and that's just good common sense to not drive through places where you can't tell where you're at. So yeah, so. Well, we're gonna get started with what we were gonna talk about this week. To be honest, this was kind of a last minute thing because we did have an interview, but our interview had some issues, so we're gonna have her. I don't know. I only know him or her by their Twitter handle, so
it's a him.
It's a him. Okay, it's a him. I never.
I met him at ShmooCon this year.
Oh, cool. All right. So hopefully we'll have him on in the near future to talk about that topic. So this week we wanted to talk about something that's pretty practical. I think anybody who in most workplaces these days still have Windows. They're still using Active Directory for administration purposes. And even if you don't have a 100% Windows environment, if you're using any kind of Linux or anything, you can still use Active Directory for user authentication purposes on Linux boxes. You can incorporate like Samba and authenticate using Active Directory. So we're going to talk about hardening your Active Directory implementations, which Active Directory is one of those weird things because
it is weird. I prefer inactive directories because then you don't have to worry about them.
All right.
What have you been drinking, Mr. Batcher? What do you got there? What do you got there, buddy?
It's just in a Dixie cup. That's all.
Oh, that's what I'm weirded out about. Yeah. So
I think that everybody thinks they can be a Windows admin no matter what.
No, I cannot.
Why is that?
I cannot.
I think a lot of people think they can just like, all right, well, I could be a Windows admin, like an Active Directory admin. It's not. I mean, it's Windows. How hard could it be?
Yeah.
And then planning for it isn't as necessarily as easy as some people think.
No, it's
To
difficult.
do it
Windows
correct.
is complicated. I mean, there is so much going on under the hood. I mean, what we see with the UI is, at least nowadays, it's very much like an iceberg. It's like you see just a little bit, and then there's a whole bunch going on underneath, or a whole bunch underneath that you can use to administer it. You
can do so much with PowerShell.
Yep, PowerShell, WMIC. You've got other commands like auditpol, which we'll talk about auditpol later. But yeah, there's a whole ton of other stuff. So during my research on Active Directory, I found this great article on TechNet from the year 2000, which it's ironic because this stuff still is applicable. They're called the 10 Immutable Laws of System Administration. It was written by probably a gentleman who owns the...
It is security administration.
It is security administration, yeah. Scott Culp, who wrote it in November of 2010. And this, I am probably going to frame this because I think these are probably still fairly applicable. So,
oh, yeah.
Of course, law number one is nobody believes anything can happen to them until it does. And you see that not just with security people, but you see it with the administration that you're having to explain why you need to secure these things.
That's the easiest way to get a security budget, right?
That's right. Never waste a crisis. Never waste a crisis. That's right. Security only works if the secure way also happens to be the easy way.
I don't know about only works, but I see where he's going.
Yeah, I mean, because, it's got to be easy or users won't use it, right?
Yeah.
And if you make it convoluted, like PGP, for instance, people won't use it, and that's why the Linux on the desktop has never really taken over because it's not easy. It requires some work.
You're gonna get hate mail for that.
I may get some hate mail for that.
If your grandmother is using Linux, then you got a point.
Well, I mean, okay,
right?
So when you say your grandmother's using Linux, what do you tell her to do? Just use the window, use the browser icon on the desktop, and that's it?
Pretty much.
Because I mean,
here's your browser. Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, Grandma, I'm not going to install Flash. Yeah,
no, you set up the printer. You set up whatever browser, and that's all. That's all they need. I really, really tried to convince my mom to do that, but
she won't do
another strikeout. Yeah, no.
Why won't she?
That's a whole other. I don't know.
So we're not talking about that right now.
Hi, Mom.
Thankfully, my mama doesn't listen to the podcast, so we're good. So, law number 3: if you don't keep up with security fixtures, your network won't be yours for long. That's fairly, you got to patch your stuff, so that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do much good to install security fixes if the computer was never secured to begin with, and I think that's where we got to with the Active Directory. But you have a look on your face.
I was just trying to. I probably should read what it says underneath it, but.
So number 4. Let me.
I'm not sure about that.
Because I don't know that I agree with that.
Okay, so he says, imagine you're a Visigoth and you're reconnoitering a castle. I don't know.
Wait a minute. What the hell? What
so
is that?
He says, imagine that. Okay, so imagine that you're
That's a
Daenerys
gaming thing.
Targaryen and you're
That's much better. Much better. Thank you.
You're Daenerys Targaryen and you've taken over Marine, and
right.
the rest of the horde, so you see them trying to repair the walls of Marine, but they walk around the back of the castle and there's nothing there. They didn't build the rest of the castle. So the point is, what are good or security patches if you've got a weak administrator password on your domain controller?
Okay.
So and that's so
it all sucks. Like, you should have all of that fixed.
Yeah, you do all your patching, but you don't do like hardening guide, or you don't do like your CIS benchmarks or whatever. And they can.
Yeah, he could have worded it better because, if it's not secure, like a fresh install, you got to update it. So that's security fixes. And once you're fully updated, then, in theory, the box is secure.
Mm-hmm.
He should rewrite this. I mean, this was 17 years ago. Yeah. So,
but it still works, except not with the Visigoths and stuff. If he'd used Game of Thrones or something like that, he probably would have been better off, I think. Yeah. But no, I mean, so Active Directory, we're getting around to that eventually. But that's one of those ones where you can patch it, but it's still woefully insecure. And the only way to properly secure it is to not use it until you've hardened it, because if you try hardening it or using CIS benchmarks after it's in place, you're going to screw a lot of things up. It's one of those things that you actually have to do a lot of testing on before you enable it. So
it could take years.
Oh, I don't know about years, but I think if you're going to make changes to something that's already in place with regards to hardening, you need to make sure that you've got backups and you can back out of any changes that you have.
I'm telling you. It could take years.
Really?
Yes.
In certain, in certain infrastructures, I'd agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what?
It took me a full year just to fix group policy in a 2,000 endpoint organization.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what was the problems you had there?
Healthcare, so it's 24/7 environment. You only have very, very small change window.
Yep. What's it going to break? You need to justify, blah, blah, blah. You need to weigh the risks and the rewards, all that.
So much
political stuff. Yeah. It could take years. I'm telling you. If you don't implement CIS benchmarks as soon as you build the network, the longer you wait, the harder it will be to implement.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
It still wasn't done when I left, so I'm not even
there you go.
Finished now.
Oh, well, you got it
4 years ago.
Those are major things. And the other thing is, if you're having to do that on the front end, then you want to make sure that that's already in place on the back end. So anything new that you bring online is already being hardened, so that you don't have to, spend them extra, unless you want job security.
Which I feel like that's easier to say, all right, starting from this point on, this is the image we're going forward with, and this is, the local Windows security that's going to be on these images. I think that's easier because that's easy to test. You re-imaging a million endpoints isn't easy to test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and plus, depending on your environment, whatever changes you make to your Active Directory may break backwards compatibility. So you want to make sure whatever if you still have that old XP box, that you're still being able to send in LM hashes or whatever for your XP or your 2000 boxes.
So that's the beauty of the group policy, right? If you plan to move up to Windows 10 and you're on Windows 7 right now, make sure that the Windows 10 image and policies that you're moving toward have a standard. And one of the standards that you might want to adopt would be CIS. That's a good starting place.
Yep.
And then there's also a starting place called the cheat sheets, right?
What cheat sheets?
The Windows logging cheat sheets.
Yep. Well, I mean, that kind of goes in hand with number 5 here. Eternal vigilance is the price of security. So he says, be careful when configuring event logs. You can easily audit so many events that you'll exceed your ability to analyze the data.
Yeah.
That's my daily life.
So
we've
that's
gone
what,
over our Splunk quota.
yeah, that's what the cheat sheets are made for, log the right things, not everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you log, it's easy to say, well, we need to log everything, but then your Splunk license goes through, you start exceeding that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever you want to log something, the first question you're going to get asked is, well, how's it going to affect my Splunk license?
Mm-hmm.
Not how's it going to benefit me?
Yeah.
Right.
So
you need to log the right things.
Yep. Yeah, and he says that too, whether you need to audit only successes, failures, or both. Security checklists include suggested settings in this regard. Actually, wow. Okay, so he's got some links here to also some checklists. I don't know how old these are. Probably 2000 era, checklists. Got to remember this came out 2000, so XP was out, so he doesn't even talk about any of the, XP, or Vista, 2016, 2012 stuff. So,
yeah.
Let me see. Eternal vigilance is the price of security. So, not only is it event logs, but you got to, understand, what normal is. I mean, if your event logs are logging, failures, but the failures are actually a good thing versus whether the failures are a bad thing, you need to understand what the logs mean when you're looking at them, because, that's also another reason that you need to, know what's going on under the hood. And you're like your logging cheat sheets will tell you what's good and what's bad. So, law number 6: someone out there is trying to guess your passwords. Well, I think that goes without saying. People are gonna, if they can dump the hashes on your box, or they can, do brute forcing. That might be something you want to look for too. If somebody's trying to continually, more than 10 times, I would say they're probably attempting to brute force your password.
Keep in mind, this was the year 2000, where most of the people, where a very large percentage of people had 1234 or, Jordan 23, whatever their, the easy passwords in the password list were. Why are you holding a tomato?
It's not. I'm sorry. It's a
okay.
It's a clown nose. Who's
okay.
Jordan? Who's Jordan 23? I don't know what that means.
Their name and 2 numbers.
No, I believe Michael Jordan, who, for you youngsters, he was a basketball player. Now he's an underwear salesperson. Used to play basketball. That makes sense. But I mean, back in the day too, they didn't have was NTL MV2 around? So I mean, they still stored the passwords in like 2 8-bit hashes, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, someone out there trying to guess your passwords, they're still doing that. So the most secure network is a well-administered one. Most successful attacks don't involve a flaw in software. They exploit misconfigurations. And this, of course, goes back to our CIS benchmarking.
Yeah, I mean, and you just mentioned like the whole, before NTLM2, it would store those hashes like that. Well, you could have all of your endpoints upgraded, but still running on, Windows Server 2003 functional level, and still have your password stored like that. Yep. So
it's funny. I wonder how much he would change this if he knew about Mimikatz and all those, where you could just even with NTLM v2, you could still pull them right out of memory. So I mean, I wonder how these would change if he was writing this today. These laws.
We should contact him.
You know what? I don't even know if he's
Let's
still.
Let's have him on.
Scott Culp. Okay, I will go and find him. If he still works for Redmond based software company, I probably would not be able to get a hold of him. They have they have very strict rules about
like social media stuff.
Talking to people and things. So number 8, the difficulty of defending a network is directly proportional to its complexity. And I think we do a whole podcast on network complexity and simplification of your stuff. perfect example. There was a software package that we were thinking about buying, and it was going to add like a dozen additional servers to our network, and we're like, well, would it be better for us to just use what we have in place that does like 60% of what we need it to do, or add these 12 different boxes that's going to add additional firewall rules and additional complexity? Is it really worth the risk, adding the additional bits on the front and back ends, just to make it, more secure? I mean, you're talking about time, man hours, and what kind of support contract do you get when you got those in place? So ultimately, I don't think we ended up buying that. So that was helpful, because it simplified the network. It would have made it more complicated. So I'm sure you have companies that come to talk to you, Amanda, that have very complex and complicated network structures.
Sometimes they don't even know what their network structure is.
Yeah. And the complexity could be because they bought companies or they've acquired companies.
Gosh. So, oh my gosh, yeah. Acquisition is tough to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or cruft just over the years. If they're an older company, they may have 10, 15 years worth of stuff that they've just accumulated, and then
you have varying levels of what they're in control of. They may be just a partner and they have like a VPN, or they may have full point to point. Everything's open, or it just So some companies it's a gigantic mess.
Yep. I mean, and they haven't, done the yard sale to get rid of things, or, they may be a subsidiary of a larger company. Mr. Betcher and I have a lot of experience dealing with subsidiaries and corporate offices and corporate securities. And, you don't always get to, administer your network the way you would like to. So, or secure your network the way you'd like to. So, security isn't about risk avoidance. It's about risk management. Well, yeah, I mean, really? Risk avoidance, you get that a lot too in environments, whether or not you want to believe that something happened, or, let's just not worry about that until it actually happened. Law number 9 and law number 1 actually go pretty much hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad's going to happen to us. So, we don't have to worry about it. So I think, risk avoidance is also the same as believing that nothing bad is going to happen to you. So, yeah. Mr. Betcher liked this when he said technology is not a pancake. I'm sorry, panacea. Panacea. So, yeah. And we talked about this. Hungry. We talked about this, last year, beginning of last year in 2016, Moxie versus mechanisms. Technology is not going to solve all your problems. Sometimes you need to actually throw some people at it. So,
yep.
You actually get more value in the long run from the people you hire in many cases than you do the blinky box. So, says Scott Culp, security program manager in the Microsoft Security Response Center. I wonder if he still works there. I know some people over in the MSRC. I'll have to talk to them. So, all right. So let's see. We were going to talk about securing. You had a link in Slack about audit policy for Active Directory, Miss Amanda. Miss.
Sorry, I was creeping on Scott Culp. Give me a second.
Wow, hacker stalking Scott Culp. All right.
Didn't take me long. Yes. What link? I'm now completely lost.
Well, it was the
one link we're doing. Is it the auditpol one or the other one?
No, it was the one you posted inside of Slack that I posted up in here. So let me go back.
Using Windows event forwarding to help with intrusion detection.
That's it. Yes.
Yes.
Why is that important?
Because a lot of time, I think this goes really well with the cheat sheet. Uh-huh. A lot of times people don't really know what to do with all of their Windows logs.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them. Like if you gather all of your Windows logs, application security, whatever, there's so many of them.
Yeah, it's kind of overwhelming. If you
Oh my
take the
gosh.
audit policy, nothing really is set by default, and you start turning those things on, you're going to get overwhelmed, and you really have trouble deciding what to turn on and what not to turn on, what's valuable and what's not. And from a security perspective, I think Michael laid down the foundation in the cheat sheet of what to set and why.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this is only for Windows, right?
Yeah. And now with Windows, so they didn't used to have this, but they do now, where you can set in group policy to have a, it's kind of like syslog. Mm-hmm. So it will change where all of your endpoints log to. It's just a forwarded event server.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to have like a client or anything like that on every endpoint sending those logs. It's just now built in with Windows, and you can control it with group policy.
Yeah. So do you need any special agent for this, or will
nope.
Do all the log managers and log aggregators use the Windows log formats? I mean, can you automatically send your stuff to, say, Splunk or to Graylog or what have you without having to do any kind of conversion?
Actually, that's what I did earlier today, is I worked with somebody that has Graylog on all of their endpoints, and at first turned it on and sent everything to Splunk and was going over several hundred gigs on their license. Yeah, because it's a couple 100,000 events every minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, so you said that there was Graylog agents exist on the Windows box.
They do. Yeah, but you don't necessarily need those.
Yeah, I was going to say, does Windows have the capability to automatically forward the raw logs without an agent installed?
I guess Graylog's supposed to do more. Okay. I don't know. Like I met the dude that wrote it the other day.
Really?
Easy name dropper. Really talk about. I don't even know his name. Leonard. His name's Leonard, I think.
Okay.
At least that's what's in his Twitter handle.
Where'd you meet him at?
At Circle CityCon.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's actually from Texas.
Really?
Or lives in Texas. He's from Germany.
Okay. What was he doing at B-Sides Cleveland?
Sorry, he's at Circle CityCon. Did I see B-Sides Cleveland?
No, you said Circle CityCon, but I mean, was he speaking or was he just attending?
Yeah, he gave a workshop on it on Graylog.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So how hard is it to set that up in GPO and to push it out if you're not using the Graylog agent stuff?
Super easy.
Really? So you just run it on the domain?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you literally say, this is my logging server. And I mean, you better hope that your logging server has enough storage and is set up. You know, setting up a logging server is fairly trivial.
Yeah.
And then you just say, this is the address and this is the port, and you push out group policy and boom, everything just starts forwarding to it.
So is this something that you would set just for the hosts, or could you set it for a user? Let's say you have a user inside threat kind of stuff, insider threat, and you want to make sure that the user is being actively, watched and monitored more closely than, say, Bob, who may log in on another box. I mean, the idea of multi-user environments is pretty much gone these days, but if you needed, to watch Bob more intently than you would Jim, could you push out a GPO that says, okay, when Jim logs in or when Bob logs in, I want to log everything that Bob does, not just, and Jim, he's okay, he's mostly useless, but, we won't log him as hard.
You can, but whenever I did it, I tried not to do that as much, just because it makes your policy super complex.
Okay.
And the easier and more routine that you have it, the better.
So you just want to cast a wide blanket.
User filtering, yeah. So I mean, we do a lot of that through Splunk.
Yeah.
So,
you can.
Once all of the logs get there, then you're like, oh, I just want to set up an alert for this.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could create a group, say the suspect group and the non-suspect group, and you can just drag Bob over to the suspect group if you want, increase logging,
which you
or
should
whatever.
always do.
Okay.
Right. So who's to say that Jill isn't a suspect, in hindsight? But
Right.
you can log all that in Splunk and then write a query to filter all that out if you want.
Okay.
Or
you
filter
can filter
for
it
that
out before it gets to. I know.
Right. Just query for whoever you want, and it should be there. But you should filter out the stuff you don't need, either through the audit policies or the forwarder or whatever comes before Splunk. Yeah.
So you mentioned the Graylog thing. Were they using Graylog and Splunk together? So they were using Graylog to store the logs and Splunk to query?
So Graylog, I guess, is supposed to do more than just forward logs. They're supposed to do some kind of analysis.
Okay.
From what I understood, but I've never played with it, so I'm not sure.
Oh, sounds like we need to call that guy and get him on here.
Right. Yeah. I could.
Okay. All right. So in addition to forwarding logs and everything, what are some of the other things we need to do to secure our Active Directory? I mean, what are some quick wins? What are some methods by which we can make it better?
One of my biggest pet peeves was people thinking an Active Directory domain is a security boundary.
Okay. So it's not like a firewall, is what you're saying, or it's not like a VLAN or a LAN segmentation kind of thing.
Right. So you have forest, you have domains, and at one point I worked on a network that had two separate forests, two separate domains, but there was a full two-way trust between the two.
Oh.
And at that point, there's absolutely no security boundary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's
so when you're setting up your trust relationships, how do you want to do that? I mean, do you want to make it as difficult as possible, or do you want to just, I mean, are there any kind of controls instead of open and completely closed?
There's one-way trusts, there's it's been forever since I've done it, but there's like transitive trusts, and there's different things that will allow like authentication. You can do filtering on those, and I think a lot of people just open up the two-way because it's a whole lot easier. You don't really have to worry about filtering.
Okay.
But then you can basically hop from one domain to the next, because all of that is going to allow you to, read across both of them.
Yeah. I don't, as I've told people on our Slack channel, I have, the last time I actually did any kind of Windows administration was like Windows 2000 boxes and Windows AD servers in 2000 range. So, I have not touched the newer server versions of that, to my own detriment, actually, because I no longer am allowed to touch boxes. I just kind of point and grunt and make. I was
what I get my MCITP for server 2008 R2.
And MCITP,
Microsoft Certified IT Professional.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were
it's like what replaced the MCSE.
I thought you were pulling the NKOTB thing or something like that. I didn't know what was going on there. So.
I should have did it.
Oh man. So I know there was some more information in there on, basically the important thing is they talk about audit policy settings for your Windows boxes. So there's a number of different things out there. There's CIS benchmarks. If you're using Linux, there's something called Linus, Lynis, which has been around forever, that you can run various tests on. When I used it, it was free, and they still have a free version, but now there's an open version that they allow you to buy like $3 a host or something, which I thought was kind of crazy. But Windows also has something called auditpol, which allows you to display information about and perform functions to manipulate audit policies. So you can actually go in and see via command line, which is important. I know a lot of people love themselves a command line, especially with PowerShell being the new hotness. But you can go in and grab the current audit policies on every box. You can actually set audit policy. So there you can there's syntax for that, or you can enable user parameters. You can exclude or include people, or set different audit categories by GUID or name. So when people log in, you can, set various policies per user, even if you wanted to. There's a bunch of links in our show notes for, setting up those various things. But yeah, you can set per user or per system policy. You can query your servers for that kind of stuff, which is very interesting.
Yeah, but remember, group policy will override that. So if you have group policy in place already, auditpol, if you make any changes, they won't take effect.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to check and see if your policies are set to a minimum security standard, you can just run logmd and get a report, and it'll tell you how that computer stands up against the Aussie benchmarks, the CIS benchmarks, the cheat sheets, what's on the computer, the minimum for, security there.
Okay. So, but you can also run commands inside a GPO, right? So when somebody logs in, a GPO can be applied, but that GPO can also run certain things. So you can set audit policy that way as well, right? If you wanted some kind of unified standard, if you're comfortable with this standard, right?
Yes, those policies you have set are applied automatically, right?
Right.
Okay. If you have them in group policy.
Right.
You don't have to run auditpol, though.
Oh, really?
There's just other settings in group policy that'll handle it all.
So what would be the use of auditpol then? Would this be for like a non-domain connected server?
Or for like
in the DMZ or
QA
something?
QA testing, making sure that the correct group policy stuff is being applied.
Oh, right. Okay. So, I mean, this would be like a good QA thing to use for your GPOs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had never heard of auditpol before, and apparently this applies to Vista 2008-7, 2008 R2, 2012, and Windows 8. And I assume Windows 10 in 2016 as well. So
I'm sure.
I don't see any. This was updated in 2012, but it should still work. Windows doesn't tend to kill things. So do you use it, Mr. Betcher?
Yeah, I use it.
Well, how do you use it at work? Is it just to double check and make sure your GPOs get applied properly?
Well, if it's not hooked up to the domain, then I can use auditpol to change the settings to make it more secure, right?
Okay.
So if logmd fails and I look at the report and it says, oh, you didn't, or it needs this logon to be checked, or success and failure or whatever, I just run an auditpol command.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, that's great, because I know there's probably a lot of companies out there that do use Windows boxes in their DMZ or cannot, connect them to Active Directory. So, I mean, you could probably push these out with PowerShell script or something like that. That could be another method by which you could, administer your boxes if you can't use a GPO push in that manner. So you might also be able to query these with WMIC. I don't have a lot of experience with WMIC outside of the disabling the firewall and stuff like we did in 504. So but WMIC is super powerful as well. So might be another way to look through those. We'll have to do a show on WMIC in the future, I think.
There's also a GUI. You can set these audit policies as well on each machine, local security policy.
Oh, right. Yeah. But I mean, if you don't have GUI access, I mean, you can run PowerShell remote to the box and run your audit stuff that way. And you can script that up, and that would make it a lot easier than having to, make sure terminal services is running, which may be a hardening condition anyway. You can't have terminal services or RDP running on the box. So, but you can still access the system via PowerShell connection. So that's often helpful. So, anything else? Anybody got anything else?
Well, you had there's another link somebody put on here for the Microsoft Security Compliance Manager.
Right. That was me.
Ooh. Okay, is that like the new version of the baseline, Microsoft Baseline?
I think it is.
Analyzer.
I think it probably is. This was updated.
I hate it when they change names of
what?
Shit.
You obviously have not used any IBM software products.
Oh my god!
They change the names every week. But yeah, this is like the Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer. I loved that program. That was really great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So you can download.
I'm sure it does like the exact same thing. It just they wanted to rebrand it or whatever.
But. Yeah, they have the Getting Started guide for that. But you can, let's see, SCM console, yeah. So it has the custom baselines. It has a nice fancy GUI here. Left pane lists all of the available baselines and tree structure, and then you can automatically, enable those, or I guess scan against whatever box. And I see Exchange server. I see it has browser hardening configurations as well as Office, and they still have XP Service Pack 3. Well, okay, this is 2013, so technically, this is still correct, but version 3.0 is out there to poke around with. So, pretty cool. Yeah, I like how Microsoft does give you tools that you can use. It seems like we always tend to go to a third party or somebody outside of Microsoft when they do give you the tools to secure Windows. It's just for some reason we don't tend to tout those or to use those. So
I have a good example of that. So I had found with somebody that they were using it was like a user management software that was just a piece of software that like their help desk used to change user passwords or whatever.
Yeah.
And on the back end, it, used one service account, it's like a domain admin service account. And that software logged all of the username and password changes in plain text.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But that's stuff that you could do with the tools Microsoft gives you.
Yeah.
Like delegation of permissions is a thing that
on purpose.
That's why it's there. Yeah. But people go out and either get free software, buy software, whatever that is even less secure than using what Microsoft gave.
Yep. Yeah, and that just opens up additional security, hazards where you should have known better when you were installing it, but you think it's going to solve your problem, and it just could possibly introduce more. So,
yep.
All right. Well, I don't have any other thoughts or suggestions about this. I mean, we've given people several good tools to use and commands, and I would love to talk more about how people harden their Active Directory. Mr. Betcher, how would people do that if they wanted to continue conversating with us online?
Well, don't we have a Slack channel for Active Directory?
There you go. Okay.
What?
I made him write that on his hand so that he would remember it when I asked him that question. So he's like, yes, Brian, we have a Slack channel. So, yeah. Awesome.
Speaking of, I did remember to put the podcast on my About Me slide for B-Side Cleveland. So
you're our marketing arm, so you're supposed to be,
The beatings will be suspended for a week.
Yes. That's right. You will get that hot cocoa sampler in your stocking as a bonus this year. So very cool. All right. So if you're listening from B-Sides Cleveland and you heard Miss Amanda speaking there, or at any of the other cons where you saw her there, welcome to the show. We'll give you a full money back guarantee if you are not pleased with any of the episodes. So, there you go. I'm good. Actually, we're a little late for book club, so we probably need to end this because they're going to get surly on us. We're doing a book club with Defensive Security Handbook right now, Miss Amanda's book. She's going to stay up with us and do the chapter that's coming up, right?
Sure.
Oh, she sounds so enthused, So
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we have
my wake up time's only 4 hours from now. It's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that true?
No, 6.
Oh, okay.
It'll be.
All right, cool.
I have to get up at 4.
Yeah. So we have a book club that we do books with. So we've got about another 5 or 6 chapters left in Miss Amanda's book. So you can join us if you'd like to. And Lee's book.
That's an early start time for vacuuming.
What?
Oh no.
You said you're done with work for a while. Now you get to clean your house.
Oh, I thought that was a you're a
sexist joke.
Yeah.
And so, Mr. Betcher, HR lady, our HR lady is going to be contacting you. So, yeah, it's going to impact your bonus this year. So, yeah. So anyway, if you want to have more fun with us outside of the podcast, our Slack channel, you can hit us up at brakesec.signup.team, and our fancy bot will send you an invite and you can join us. Very active on there. We have a lot of different channels. We have a CTF club going on. Our book club. We have a malware channel and reverse engineering channel. We've started the OSINT channel. Sorry?
Python and automation.
Yep. And we're going to be starting up another one soon because our training with Miss Sunny, which has been going fantastically on web app security, is ending Wednesday night. But on July 10th, we're actually starting another class, a 6-week course with Mr. Mick Douglas. He's agreed to do a PowerShell class for us. So everybody's going to get to learn how to use PowerShell. And we're going to learn about some automation frameworks, and we're going to be able to poke around inside the internals of Windows and what have you. And that starts on July 10th. So if you want to join that, you can sign up. It's a $20 course. Actually, I think it's probably going to be about $40 or $60 depending on when you sign up. If you sign up before July 1st, it'll probably be $60, so I'll probably give you a refund. But every month that you support us on the Patreon, which you're going to sign up on, you could charge $20. So what'll happen is go and sign up at the $20 level, and you've got a spot in the class, and we'll send you a link to get on the class. And if you can't join us, we have a $10 link if you want to just get the videos to follow along in class. And we'll, of course, do like we did with Miss Sunny's class and send out the videos for free, probably about a week or a week and a half after the end of the class. So if you can't afford to join us in the class for whatever reason, you'll get those videos eventually. So, but everyone's loving Miss Sunny's class. They've learned a lot. You're hacking on a vulnerable VM and understanding how to do SQL injection, for instance, which and you learn a whole lot. So we were grateful Miss Sunny would take the time and teach a class for us.
Might help you in the CTF too for DerbyCon tickets.
Oh. Yes, I totally forgot about that. Yes, we are doing our DerbyCon CTF. So Mr. Betcher, Miss Berlin, and myself, and a couple of other people are actually diligently working on steps and to get you a free ticket to DerbyCon. So that's we'll be announcing that fairly soon, I hope. After Saturday, Miss Berlin is going to be working on her stage of the CTF eventually, if she isn't done already. She did say she was working on it, so yeah, we'll have all that out, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. So, Mr. Betcher, how would people get a hold of you if they wanted to discuss LogMD, event logging, Active Directory, Windows-y based stuff? How would they get a hold of you?
Hit me up on Twitter @BetcherPwned.
Okay. He's sometimes on Slack when he's when he's not working diligently to protect his own company. So, there's that. He does hang out in the malware channel quite a bit. So, Miss Berlin, how would people get a hold of you if they wanted to, reach out and talk about whatever, book, authoring, or, hardening Active Directory servers?
They should just come over.
Come over where?
To my house.
Okay. Well, you're just a walking HR violation too, aren't you?
I never get any visitors.
Oh, well.
Saying.
I don't answer the door if I get visitors, so I don't.
Oh yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
That's probably that might be a
visitors.
So at InfoSister,
At
INFOSYSTIR.
Okay.
On Twitter.
I did get a visitor the other day, but I think it was the guy trying to run for mayor here. So, yeah, he just left his card and left.
The last visitor I got was actually taking something off my lawn that I wanted to get rid of. So.
Oh, well, there you go. Was it a car? Or something?
It was an organ. It was an organ. Like an electric organ.
Oh, okay.
Not like a human organ.
Okay. There's a story there. Either way, there's a story there. So.
Those I sell online.
Oh, yeah. Tubs of ice and yeah.
Yes. Why do you think I go to all these conferences?
Okay. All right. They're easy. Goodness.
This is what happens when I'm up late.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, you can get all this more fun on Slack, because when she gets up this late, it gets crazy. So, so I'm on Twitter as well. Brian Brake, BRYAN BRAKE is my handle. The official Brakesec podcast is at Brakesec, BRAKESEC. We're on Google Play Store, iTunes, TuneIn Radio app, iHeartRadio. We have an RSS feed. You can hit us up at Breaking Security, BRAKEING security.com/RSS. If you found us on iTunes or Google Play Store, please leave a review. We'd love that. Thank you so much to our Patreon contributors. Because we're using Patreon to have people sign up for the class, we're getting all kinds of support and help from that. And the money that when you sign up for the class actually goes to pay the instructor. And we take like 5 to 10% of whatever gets taken in for advertising and for the time needed to set everything up. So we're not taking that money. It's mostly going to the instructor. And to be fair, we never use that money anyway. So we're gonna donate that money at the end of the year anyway. We've got a ton of money that we didn't donate last year too. So. All right, we need to get going because book club's probably waiting for us to open the channel up.
Is there a limit to how many people can sign up for that class?
We're going to be using Zoom like we do with our podcast every week, and I think the professional one has up to 50 people. Don't quote me on that, but yeah. So I mean, we have 50 slots available for the class, and then of course, if you just want to sign up for the video, if you can't get into the class, then it's going to be as many people as available. We actually put it up on YouTube, so we unlisted it and uploaded it there, so you have it on YouTube and it's available. So we try to make it as low barrier as possible. So you just need to be able to run the Zoom client, which will work on a Windows, Mac, or a Linux box. We have heard people have Arch Linux have been able to successfully connect. Now they can't I don't know if they can do everything, but they can at least participate in the class. So. All right, well, that's all I've got for this week. We're going to be taking the week of the 4th off. This will come out in a couple days, but we're going to take the week of the 4th off because, it's good to take some time off every once in a while. So we'll hopefully be back with our interview that we were supposed to have this week. So, and we hope he gets better. So that was it for Breaking Down Security at the World Headquarters here in Seattle, Washington. Everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.